Welcome to the Craft and Biz of Acting, the place to go to learn what they didn't teach you in acting school. When you're looking for the next step in your acting career, we've got you covered. With your host, monologue expert and founder of monologuestogo.com, Joyce Story.
Hello, my fellow thespians. We are here to explore the nuts and bolts of auditioning and performing. I'm your host, Joyce Story, and you are listening to The Craft and Biz of Acting. Today's guest is my dear friend, actress and professor, Deborah White. Deborah has been a professional actress for decades, working in television, theater, and film on both coasts, New York and LA. She made her mark in television on shows like Laverne Shirley, The Waltons, Colombo, Murder, She Wrote, Maude, Saint Elsewhere, and Law and Order. She has appeared on films such as Oh God, Stir Crazy, and 10. She's done numerous commercials and is one of the founding members of the improvisational troupe War Babies, performing with them on both coasts. In New York, she has appeared at Playwrights Horizons, Ensemble Studio Theatre, the New Dramatists, and the American Playhouse. She understudied Bernadette Peters on Broadway and was seen in Key Exchange at the Geffen Playhouse in Los Angeles. Deborah most recently appeared on The Americans on FX. She is also a professor of American history at Hostos College in the Bronx, New York. And welcome to the show, Deborah.
Thanks, Joyce. Pleasure to be here.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you here. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that is, well, first of all, you're just a delightful person, and I enjoy speaking with you.
God.
It's true. But
thank you.
I am just so interested in the fact, first of all, you come from a long line of people in the industry, don't you?
It's just one generation. My father was in television. He was a producer. My grandparents were immigrants, Lower East Side immigrants, a jeweler, a housewife. My grandmother sewed. My father was the first to break out of that sort of Lower East Side Jewish thing and become first a television producer, and then a theatrical producer, and then a film producer. And then my brother also went into the craft. And my sister, my darling sister, who is the cause of our friendship.
Yes, because she's my neighbor.
Yes. What a lovely coinky-dinky that was.
Yes.
She is no longer, but was quite a talented opera singer. So we all pursued the arts in some way. We were raised in New York City, and whatever my parents did right or wrong, we went to the theater whenever we wanted to.
Well, that's amazing. I bet you did. But that's amazing to me that in one generation, all of those people in your family got into the business, and you were all successful in the business.
Exactly. Yeah. It was quite extraordinary.
Really?
Yeah, and the business has changed enormously. My father would never survive the way the business is today. Maybe he would, but he was such a handshake kind of guy. That's how you made a deal. That's how you produced a show. That's how you went around the world making theater happen. You'd shake hands with somebody and it would happen. Now you can't do that. Now it's contracts and God knows what,
So it is a very different business.
Very different. Different for me, too. Different for me as an actress than when I started.
So how have you stayed relevant over time? You still are getting jobs and you're still active in the community. How have you rolled with the punches of the new world and the new technology and all that?
Well, I have to tell you, I have to be very honest and say that I didn't always roll well with it. It was something that I had to learn, and I'm still learning. Because when I started acting, you got an agent, and if you were somebody like me at that time who was young and adorable and sexy and funny, which was my gift, you got an agent, and your agent sent you out, and you went on jobs where they saw maybe at the most 30, 40 people, and they called back maybe at the most 5 or 10. And then they put 2 on first refusal, and then they'd book 1. So it's not the way it is nowadays, where they audition all over the world for things. Your competition was a lot less.
Oh, that's
And the question is, how do I stay relevant? Well, by giving myself permission to recognize when there was going to be a lull in my career, not because my talent changed, but because the need for middle-aged women disappeared. Women talk about this a lot, but women are not allowed to grow old. in Hollywood,
right?
In television, in theater. It's changing, of course. It's changing, but not fast enough. But my main gift was that I was funny and cute and talented. But that was what I sold, was funny and cute. And I just have to sit it out until I'm about 85, and it's okay to be funny and cute again.
But there is that, isn't there?
People are going to go, oh, did she really say that?
But there is that in a woman, specifically a woman's acting career. There is this lull where you kind of don't fit in any category, isn't there?
That's exactly right. And I am coming to the backside of that. I started that about 15 years ago. I recognized not only was there a lull in my career, but what I was getting a shot at, I wasn't interested in. Because the roles that would be available to me were, the teacher, the lawyer, something with the in front of it, not a name. And the roles became smaller and less interesting. And soon thereafter, there was this whole need to, and I very much appreciate this, for diversity. So one of the ways that, trust me, this is true. One of the ways that producers and directors could get diversity was to take some of those female roles and give them to Black women or Hispanic women. And I'm all for it. I'm for diversity. It just meant that I had to step aside because as the white mature woman, I was the most expendable. And I recognize that.
It's interesting that you did recognize that.
If you want to keep your sanity, basically, I think you need to find something else. I think you need to have another passion. And my problem was that I didn't. And I went back to school. It was actually your neighbor, my sister, Rebecca, who brilliantly recommended I go back to school and go to a certain kind of school where I could explore what else I might be interested in. And I discovered a passion for history, specifically American history, I had no idea I had.
Wow.
If I looked at my library, I had books on acting and books on Lincoln, and wait a second, I actually am interested in something. Wow. And I pursued a degree and became a teacher. And I'm now an adjunct professor of American history at Hostos College in the Bronx, New York, teaching the population I adore. And I'll never give up that job. And I'm also acting. I'm slowly going back into the acting because the older women roles where they're looking for cute are starting to cross my path.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's really wonderful that you were able to take a breath, step back, look at the business as an industry and say, where do I fit in it? And realizing that my career is not over. I'm just taking a little breath and, I think people, and people become more interesting when they have life experience. And so now you've got all of this other part of your life that you bring into your work.
Exactly. And I did very well in the first, half of my career. I did very well and worked a lot and was really good at what I did. And then it stopped and it will come back. And I have a neighbor downstairs who I've known forever. And she was never working. She couldn't get a job. Nobody wanted her. And now she's 78, I think, or 79. She looks about 85. She cannot stop working. I mean, everything. She just did the Joker movie. I mean, she's just nonstop because her physicality and who she is caught up to her age. And, she's always sort of been a little old lady in a lot of ways. And now she's a Thelma Ritter. Hope your students know who Thelma Ritter is. Look it up.
Look it up.
Now she's, doesn't have enough days in the week to work, and God bless her because that's where she was always meant to be. She just had to wait to catch up.
Wow. I just think it's a great insight. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to add that the funny thing, the ironic thing, I don't know if your students will experience this, but my best friends today, my very, very best friends, were all actresses I met at auditions.
Really?
And we've stayed very, very close. There's a group of us, few of us live here in New York, most live in LA, but we met in those or, those waiting rooms.
Yes.
And we would be competing with each other, and you'd be sitting there and you'd be yakking about the boyfriend or the husband or the wedding or the first baby or whatever. And before you know it, you're invited to the baby shower. And before you know it, you're invited to the kids' graduation. And you just bond because we shared this common experience. If they wanted a brunette, I was a brunette in those days. I got it. If they wanted a blonde, Janice got it. And Janice, is one of my best friends today. Anyway,
fantastic.
That's part of the longevity too, is staying bonded with people that are like you. So you don't feel like there's something wrong with you.
Yes.
We're all going through this.
Yes.
We're all experiencing. And some of us dropped out and became real estate agents, but there are a few of us who are still acting. And, we don't have to be the star of the show.
Right.
We just like to be on a set.
Right.
So we'll do it. This may be, out of the group of maybe 14 of us, there's maybe half are still acting. So
actually, half is pretty good.
Yeah.
Half is pretty good, because there are a lot of people. When I first came to New York, most of my friends have moved back to wherever it was they came. A lot of people come. Well, you're born and raised New Yorker, so it's different for you. Yeah. But a lot of people come from elsewhere. They spend a couple of years, they kind of get their toes in, but they're not in it or they're maybe things don't go the way they think they should, but sometimes, how do you know you didn't leave town right before you cross the finish line?
Exactly. Bryan Cranston, who we all know, who is without a doubt one of, I think, our finest actors. I've heard him interviewed a few times, and he's always made this point, and I think it's incredibly important for actors to acknowledge this. He says, yes, I know how to act, but I've also been incredibly lucky. And what he's saying is, in my opinion, he knows that there are other actors who could do what he does.
Right.
But he got lucky. He was in the right place at the right time with the right job came up and the right people saw it. And he's not the only one, is what he's saying. So you have to look at yourself that way. Deborah Winger got the jobs, but that doesn't mean I'm not a talented actress.
And I think that's a hard thing in this business to remember. It's not about you, and it doesn't mean that you're honestly, I especially for print, I've gone to so many castings where any one of us in the room could have held that bag of flour or whatever it was. We could have, and we equally.
And if you've ever been on the other side of it, you know how arbitrary it is often on who they pick.
Right.
So you can't take it personally. It took me a long time to learn that. That's a hard one. If an actor can blow it off, the sooner the better in their life, the better. And get feedback if you can. If you can find out that you keep your mouth shut, stop stepping on people's toes when you go in the room, stop being a smart ass, or get the pages out of your face so we can see you, or whatever. If you get feedback like that, take it seriously.
Right, because those are nuggets. Those are real nuggets. I remember reading Neil Simon's autobiography. Yeah, it was called Rewrites. Yeah. And he said that, I think it was Sunshine Boys, I'm not sure. It was some show that he was doing where the producer had said to him, when he wrote the first version, the first draft, they said, don't change one word, don't change one line. We want it exactly like this. So they did the out-of-town tryouts. He did not change one word. He did not change one line. And it got killed out of town. And, he was on a plane on the way back to New York. The producer bailed. And he said, I was reading this one last review on the plane, and he said, out-of-town reviewers are wonderful because they want to help you. And this reviewer told him everything that needed to get fixed. He turned around on that plane. He went back to the actors without the producer. They had to finish their run, and they did rewrites and did a new show every night. And then he got a new producer. He brought it into New York, and it became a huge hit. I think it really is important to be able to take constructive criticism and make it work for you and help you to go forward. And what were you were saying about the community of other actors, that we really prop each other up when we have our downtimes.
Oh boy, it's so important. It's just so important. And I think particularly helping us each transition, you know, I mean, quite honestly, a lot of my female friends, my women friends became mothers, you know, and that took them away. And that's fine. But I personally never really wanted that.
But as an actress, you can put that off and go, oh, wow, that didn't happen. And now I guess I didn't think of that. But it's easy to get lost in the world of acting and not have that life balance. And it's really important to have that work-life balance. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And also, I think to really, and it took me a long time to learn this. So for your students, I would say, know what it is you have to sell. And I mean that whether you want Broadway and only Broadway and you only want to do O'Neill and Ibsen and what you don't want anything to do with television, you just want to do Shakespeare. You need to know what you are. Right. You just need to know. Yeah. And that's why when I realized that the work was going to go away because I was growing too old for certain kinds of roles, and I worked as a young person for a very long time. I remember, because I looked younger than I was, and I remember celebrating my 30th birthday on a set where I was playing. They gave me a big cake with 30 candles, and I was playing an 18-year-old. So I knew that I had this little lucky charm where I looked a lot younger.
Right.
And eventually, I stopped looking a lot younger, and I had to go, whoa. But it took me a long time to figure out that what I had was that I was talented, and my gift was that I was funny and sweet, and you know, and that's what I sold. And doesn't mean I can't play a mean lawyer. It's just that if I know who I am and what's different about me, I can get in the door.
Right.
And that's you know, and maybe change somebody's opinion and find out, oh yeah, she is a dramatic actress too.
Right.
But you have to have something to hold on to that you say, this is me.
Right.
Oh, I only want to do theater. Fine. If that's it, then that's it.
Right.
You know?
Right. On that, we have to take a little break because we want to hear from our sponsor, but we'll come right back.
Looking for the perfect monologue that will nail your next audition? Need something right away? Need a fresh perspective? Monologuestogo.com is your one-stop shop for audition material. We understand actors' needs because we've been in your shoes. We know the importance of finding the perfect piece that fits like it was made for you. Pick your favorite monologues and download them instantly. It's that easy. Think of us like a takeout menu, only a whole lot more fun. We're fresh, fast, hot, and delivered to you in seconds. Monologuestogo.com. Original monologues that work.
We are back with Deborah White, and we're having a lovely discussion about being in your bones as a person and an actor, and knowing who you are, knowing what you have to sell, knowing where you fit in the business. And you know, Deborah, I think it's not even just, I think this is a really relevant conversation, not just for women of a certain age, but also the transition from child actor to adult actor can be really rough. And, you know, the young, amazing Broadway kids that, oops, you don't fit the costume anymore, or, you know, your voice changed, sorry, you're done.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they're any less of an actor or any less of an ability. They're just growing into a different season of their life, which also translate into a different season of what they play.
Very true. I think the hardest part about all of that, to be quite honest, is something that nobody really talks about, that I know about, and that's that you are outgrowing a community that has become your family. When you're doing a show, when you're on a set, like I was on St. Elsewhere, and they decided to kill me off because they wanted my doctor husband to be single because they thought he was going to be a big movie star, and that didn't happen. But I lost my job because they wanted him single. And I'd been on the show for 2 years, and it was just a heavenly place for me. And then all of a sudden, I was written out of the script, and I was heartbroken. And it was not so much about the show, because I didn't have, you know, I was somebody's wife. It was cute, you know.
Yeah.
It was good, but it wasn't a great role. But I was being abandoned by my family. And every show has a family. Every show, you know that. Every Broadway show. And the hard thing is letting go of that, I think, for a lot of people, more than saying, oh, I'm too big for the costume, because it just means you're going on to something else that might be even better for you. But you are being asked to leave your family, and it's not your choosing. And that's, I think, something that people don't really explore enough. When you outgrow something, how do you feel about what you're leaving behind?
Right.
You know?
Right. That is a very real thing in this, and especially in this day and age. You know, The Sopranos was kind of the first to break that mold, where they have these big characters who we all love and adore, and then they started killing them off. Yeah, and we were all devastated. We were like, they can't do that. They didn't really mean it, did they? But it has become like a trend. It's like a show wants better ratings, or they want to get edgy, and they're finishing their season. And as an actor or an actress, you do not have control over what the writers write and what the producers want. And
whatever we do as actors, you have to be collaborative. If you're not collaborative, if you're not a team player, you're not going to survive. Right. Unless you are some amazingly, bizarrely talented person, like, let's say a Barbra Streisand or something, who can just do whatever she wants for her whole life.
Right.
But that's rare. Most of us have to learn how to play well with other children.
Right.
And you need to have that skill.
Yeah.
And that creates, you become part of a family. And every time a show ends, you have to say goodbye to your family.
Right.
And that is heartbreaking.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you're not going to move on to something better.
Right. And I think that's what you have to remind yourself.
Right.
And that's why you have to have a whole life, not just your acting life. You know, that you can't give away that piece of yourself that has your sort of your sense of value and self-worth and who you are. That's that you bring with you, and there will always be another job if you want it. There's always something else creative to move on to. And whether you're a child actor, or whether you're someone resurrecting a career, whether you've had a child and now you want to come back to the business, there is a place for everybody here. It just might not come in the package that you're thinking it will.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. You have no idea what it's going to be, but if you have a good, strong sense of what it is that you have to offer. When I go into an audition these days for a commercial, let's say, I'm there against 60 women, all of whom I've seen my entire life. They're in age range from 45 to 75, and they're all wonderful. They're wonderful. And sometimes it gets spooky. I'm looking and going, I'm such a fan of hers. Should I say anything? Should I introduce myself? Hi, I saw you in such and such like 20 years ago. God, I've loved you. I mean, you just sit in these rooms, and I have to pull myself in and say, let that go. Enjoy them. Enjoy them. Well, what are you going to walk into the room with, Missy? Who are you?
Right.
What are you going to give them?
Right.
I have to focus on that, because I do have something to offer, and I'm not always sure whether it's right, or I'm sometimes not even sure what it is. But I have certain hooks that I use, like I'm real. I'm very real in my work. It's one of the things that I get called for all the time, is that they want a real person. No actors, real people.
That's me. I'm real. Pick me. But, I think, too, there's something about the joy of walking in the room and getting to perform for the casting people. And I've been in places in New York where I think, wow, what a privilege this is to be in the room. I would not be here if I was not an actress.
That's exactly right. That's your job, is to audition. It took me years to learn that. Sometimes, I fall in love with a role, and the only time I'm ever going to get to play it is in the audition.
True. True. So you play the heck of it out of it while you're in that audition room.
Exactly. I do have one thing I can tell you that I have trouble with, and I've always had trouble with, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, since I'm real.
Ooh, I feel so Barbara Walters at this moment when you're sharing this little moment with me.
You just pulled it out of me, Joyce.
I did. I pulled it out of you.
Oh, God. I was struggling so hard not to say it. I have a very difficult time with memorization, and that has to do with, finally figured out, with some real learning disabilities. And I've been fighting with it my whole life and not realizing that it has nothing to do with my talent or level of skill or anything. It's just, it's a disability in a way. And I have met a lot of actors who, now we'll talk about this quite openly, that they cannot memorize. Now I can memorize, but it's hard for me. It's difficult. And when I'm preparing for an audition, I need to find out how important it is that I do it line perfect. Because sometimes they'll say to you, this particular director or writer or whatever wants it exactly as it's written. Right. Somebody else is like, well, no, it's more, we want to get the feeling of who you are. So personally, my advice is, if you have an issue, maybe you want to know whether or not you should wear your glasses. Oh my God, I should wear my glasses. I can't see a thing. Just, do you mind if I would? Sometimes knowing that before you walk into the room is helpful to you, will be helpful to you.
Right, because you walk in with one less question mark in your mind.
Bingo, exactly.
So how do you find out whether you're allowed to wear your glasses beforehand?
I would ask my agent or whoever I'm connecting to with the job is, can you tell me whether or not I can do this one with my glasses, because I can't see the board without my glasses, because they, a lot of commercials, they have to give you a board with the lines on them. Right.
And a lot of people don't realize. I remember the first time I walked into a commercial audition in New York, and they had, the copy, which is the words for those of you that don't know that term. The copy is the script. And it's on a poster board that somebody hand wrote with their, blue marker, and you're supposed to be able to follow that, which looks nothing like the script that you were rehearsing in the in the hallway before you got in that room. So that's something that you should be aware of, that you're not, if you do not have it memorized, you have to be prepared for the way it is presented to you when you get into the room.
Exactly. And I go back with commercials to the days before they used to do those poster board things. And that actually became a union requirement, because what was happening was that actors were being asked to memorize stuff in the waiting room. And it became an issue. Wow. And SAG fought for there to be those poster boards.
Oh, that's, what? That's a very good, I should have a whole podcast on what SAG-AFTRA has done for. Yeah. In fact, I have a friend who works for SAG-AFTRA, so I may pull her in to discuss that, exactly that, how our union has really made working conditions for actors so much better.
So much better. So much better.
I want to get back to, because we're getting up to our time, and I want to get back to what you were saying about having a learning disability but you have found a workaround for that. You've still been a very successful actress even with that. And I can't tell you the amount of actors I have met who are dyslexic. It's almost like this business. You're dyslexic. There you go.
Yeah.
This business, I don't know why it attracts so many people who are dyslexic. I find that fascinating, because it's terrifying to read sides.
I know.
And being on camera at the best of times. But when you have that extra thing where you have to sort of reverse the letters in your mind.
Oh, man.
It's amazing to me how many actors overcome that, and beautifully overcome that.
I remember overcoming it. I remember teaching myself how to read.
Wow.
And going to auditions. And I had this little trick where I would read ahead a couple of words. And I would get feedback like, it sounded like you're rushing. And I didn't know how to explain to them that I wasn't rushing. I was just trying to make sure I knew the next words.
Wow.
And sometimes that got in my way. But I often did overcome. I eventually did overcome that.
Uh-huh.
I think the dyslexia has to do with the fact that we've had to read people. We've had to study people we dyslexics often really have great vision about people, great mental, emotional maturity about other people. And we want to become actors to play those people. That's my theory.
That's a good theory. That's a very good theory. Yeah. Well, I think this has been such a lovely conversation. I think the lesson for the day is be yourself, be in your bones, be confident about who you are, and then just Go out and do your work and enjoy doing your work and enjoy the joys and the highs of being on a set. And when you're between gigs or when you get let go of a gig, just stay in your bones and go, you know what? This is just a wave. The next wave will come and I'll be on it. And for now, we're sort of in that little quiet time in between.
Yeah, and it's not, my life is not quiet, but that's a perfect way to put it. It's like, okay, my life is like not that. No, it's very busy. I just don't happen to be on set, which is one of those things that I really love, or doing a show, which is one of those things that I really love at this particular moment. But that doesn't mean I'm never going to do it again.
Right.
And also, I think it's just, my bottom line thing is allow yourself to grow and change as going back to the child actor. That's true for me too. I have to allow myself to have wrinkles and the double chin. And, we all fight with that. But then I realized, wait a second, if I could get this to wiggle a little bit more,
I'll get more work. So enjoy the skin you're in.
Then I'm getting closer to those little old lady parts, like my neighbor downstairs who I adore.
Fantastic. I can't wait till you get your next residual check for being a little old granny somewhere.
Thank you, darling. It was lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you, too. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have been listening to The Craft and Biz of Acting. I'm your host, Joyce Story. Until next time, break a leg.
Thanks for tuning in to The Craft and Biz of Acting. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, and while you're at it, please leave us a rating and a review and share our show with your friends. We're building a supportive and educational community, and we want you to be a part of it. Tune in every week for more helpful insights and tools for honing your craft and booking your next gig. Until next time, break a leg.